Hello friends, welcome to another video. Today we're doing another episode of Deviant Drafts, which is the writing series I have here on the channel where I just kind of take you on my writing journey while I'm currently working on draft 2 of my book. And if you missed the first 2 episodes in the series and you want to go back and watch them, I will leave the playlist linked down below and you can do that. But here we are for episode 3 of Deviant Drafts.
I can reach for a well-worn book to give me an escape.
In today's episode, I would talk about more of my process with writing in general and then with the editing, which is what I'm doing now. I'm editing and doing a lot of rewriting instead of just editing, which was unexpected going into it, but that's where we're at. I would talk about that, and then I'm going to show you guys some more character art I commissioned of my characters from this book. I've got another one done, so I'll show that to you guys later on in the video. And then at the end of the video, I might also read you guys a little scene from the book of draft 2 where I'm currently at, like something from the first 9 chapters. So where I left you guys off last time, I had just made it to chapter 6 in my edits, and I was struggling a ton because I'd gotten out of the habit of working on it, and I was super depressed, and I got back into it and I was doing great, and here we are now, and I'm still doing great. Technically, I didn't write for like the last 4 days until last night, which is the longest I've gone in like 3 months, I think, without writing or working on it in some form. I haven't, I've literally not gone more than 1 or 2 days without working on it, and so the past week I'd gone 4 days, I think, without working on it. It was stressing me out because I've been doing so good, and I've been so proud of myself. Right now I'm on chapter 9, so it seems that with doing these monthly writing update episodes, I make it 3 chapters each time, which feels slow, but it's still steady progress, so I'm not going to be mad about it. I love running out of card space in the middle of filming a video. Anyways, so I'm currently working on chapter 9. I'm almost done with chapter 9, and it was another full rewrite. I think once I got to chapter 3, everything past chapter 3, I've rewritten the entire chapters, not just gone through and edited what was already written. The plot points and the beats of the story are still the same, but I'm just reformatting the entire structure of how things are happening, I guess. And I think it's better, because a lot of the times when I'm reading through the old draft, I'm like, oh, this is bad. And so I'm hoping that with these rewrites I'm making it better, but time will tell. But yeah, one of the things I've been struggling with the most right now is pacing. I've been worried about my pacing because, like I said, I'm working on it 3 chapters at a time, and then I'll take those 3 chapters and I upload them into my doc with the full thing up to that point for Haley and Casey to read, because they are my alpha readers. And so I've been doing 3 chapters at a time, and then I send those to them to read, and then I do the next 3 chapters, and I'm not looking back, and the amount of time I spend on each section is wildly inconsistent. So I'm losing track of pacing, not just in story. I know there was a time when I mentioned something a week had passed, but it was really more 2 weeks, and I had to go fix that. And I'm sure I'm missing some of those things that I'll have to end up refixing in draft 3. But because I'm focusing on 3 sections and 3 chapters at a time, I feel I'm losing the structure of the pacing and not realizing it. So I went back through the other night and read through everything up till chapter 9 where what I've edited so far, and I don't actually think the pacing is that bad, but I do feel it needs a little bit of work. And then the other thing that I was really concerned about is character voice, because I have so many characters. In part 1 of this book, there are 4 point of view characters, but there are 7 characters total who show up in part 1. I consider them all main characters, even though only 4 of them have point of views, and so trying to make sure each character's inner voice is distinct. And I mean, I label each chapter, you know whose point of view you're in, but sometimes point of views switch in the chapter, and I indicate when that happens. And obviously their name shows up enough that you're not going to be confused about it, but I still want them to come across as very distinct and individual. And that's the thing that I think that I'm good at. I think that's where I shine, is my characters. So the fact that now I'm worrying about how they're coming across separately when they're all, right there, is concerning. So I'm trying to pay more attention to that as I'm going forward. One of the tricks that I've started doing, which I actually don't know if this is like a thing that people do. I just decided to do it because I was working on one of my other things that I suck at is descriptions, and some advice that I got was like to kind of like break down the scene based on just like everything that I physically see in my mind, and just like write it down and then kind of go back and break that apart into descriptive words, whether it's like the colors and the smells and the feels of whatever's around them, and to just like write down all those descriptive words and then kind of pull from that when I'm actually like framing the proper scene. And so along those same lines, I decided to take that tip and put that towards just one small thing with my characters. Is I decided to go through and make lists for each of the main characters and pick specific dialogue tags for them. Obviously there's going to be overlap, like it's not like specific, like this character will only have these dialogue tags and no other character will have these dialogue tags, but just wanted to find the ones that like fit better for them. Like my character Ace, he's much more like quiet and withdrawn and like in his own head, so a lot of his dialogue tags tend to be like mumbled and muttered and whispered and murmured and things like that. And it's just, I feel like it's just one small layer that helps distinguish them in any given moment. I feel like it's not even something that's going to be like super obvious to the reader, but I hope it just kind of adds to the overall distinguishing of the character. I really don't know. I've never actually done this before, and I don't know if it's a thing that people do, because I don't like to like have so many like out there dialogue tags, because they say that doing too many, trying to do like too many different dialogue tags is just, it's not great. And obviously, but you don't just want to say said every time you're putting in a dialogue tag, because that's just tedious and it's not visually nice. You want to mix it up a little bit and give like the proper feeling for how people are saying things. So I went through and I made lists for each character, putting down different words that feel like how they would express themselves for their dialogue tags. And I'm hoping that that's going to help. It's just like a tiny little sprinkle of something that I hope will help to distinguish their voices when they're in any given scene. Because it's not just also like, oh, you're in these different point of views, but like they're all in the same spot. Well, most of them. 3 of your 4 point of views in part 1 are all together in like one scene. The 4th one comes in later. They're all together. They're all just like having conversation. So even if you're in this person's point of view, the other ones are all right there having that conversation. So it's a whole mess. I have too many characters. I know it's a problem. Can't be helped now. Can't be helped now. But so that's one of the things I've been struggling with, is trying to like find my character voice and work on my pacing during these rounds of edits. I would go ahead and show you guys like just like a little breakdown of some of my process for writing and plotting and editing in this video, just my whole process. So I'm gonna flip you around. I'm gonna show you the whiteboard behind you. Okay, so over here behind where the camera was just a second ago, this is where my whiteboard is, which has the entire plot for book 1 written on it right now, and it's very bright, so we're gonna have to, you can see it's like partitioned into 3 sections, which is part 1, which is part 1, part 2, and part 3. And it's just broken down by like specific scenes or moments that I knew I wanted to happen in the order that they're meant to happen. What the fuck was that noise? Basically just broken down by plot points and like scenes that I knew I wanted to happen, not even like super heavy plot relevant, even if it's just like a tiny moment that I knew I wanted to include. They're all listed here on the board. The numbers that I have at the bottom of the board are how many bullet points I have to keep track of. This is not like chapter number. This is just how many bullet points I had, just to know, you know, just to know. And this one, part 1 here, I just recently broke down each section of like points into their respective chapters, at least where I think that they're going to end up in their chapters. And right now it looks like part 1's going to be 18 chapters, which is a little bit concerning. I think that's one thing I'm really concerned about, is like the overall total of this book, word count wise, because I think based on like genre and stuff, I'm supposed to be aiming for like 100,000 words. And I think draft 1 was at like 160 or something stupid like that, 180, I don't really know. And it seems like so far I'm ahead of where I was, because draft 1, part 1, was 14 chapters, and it looks like this is going to be 18, and I'm already, since I'm rewriting things, I'm like filling it out more with like a lot more depth and meat in the scenes, but I just feel like it's going to be so long, because I'm already at like 42,000, hang on, what am I at? I'm already at 43,216 words, and I'm on chapter 9, so As you can see on the board here, this is where chapter 9 is. So we still have all of that to do for, all of that to do for part 1, and then part 2 and part 3. So that's a whole thing, but I really love like having this whiteboard here. Like you can see, here's my desk, and it's just like right to the side of me, so I can always just look up at it and see what order I have things in and all of that jazz. It's really helpful, especially when like you're in the drafting process and you're just like throwing down ideas. I absolutely love just like throwing shit on this whiteboard and then going back and like crossing stuff out and erasing it and rewriting stuff on the board, and just getting ideas out on the whiteboard is so much fun and it's helpful. And then it's really nice like once I actually have my solid like outline of what I know I want in the story to have it just up there like that. I love it. I'm gonna put you back here for a moment. One of my other drafting methods, which is my favorite method, I didn't start doing this until, I think I started doing this in 2019 when I first started rewriting this book. So I did this for both versions of this book. This is so out of focus. There we go, focus. All right, so one of my favorite drafting methods is the note card method, index cards, where you basically, anything that you know you want to happen, even if it's like you don't have the full picture, you're like, I know I want this scene and this scene and this scene. Even if you only have like those 3 things to go off of, you write them on note cards. So like my first note card says the Mercer prologue, which I still think I might change, but that's fine. Anyways, I start with this prologue from Mercer, who's our bad guy. And like, you know, note card 2 says Rainey runs away. That's chapter 1, Rainey running away from her foster parents. So I just write down everything that I think I want. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna end up in the book, and it might get cut later, but every scene, every moment, even if it's just like a little thing between characters, it's not like a full chapter or a full scene, just like any little thing I know I want to include in the book, at least in the first draft, that I can then rearrange, cut out, rewrite later, I write them on note cards, just beat by beat. And then you lay the note cards out in front of you, or you put them on the wall, tack them on a cork board, however you wish. The first time I did it, I taped them on my wall because it was before I had my bookshelves in here, so I just taped them on the empty wall over there. But that way you can kind of see the pieces of your puzzle like visually, and I'm a visual person, so it really is helpful for me to have like the visuals of it all laid out in front of me. And then you can take each scene and kind of move it around and be like, oh no, this makes more sense to put this before this moment, and then this makes sense to put this over here in like the 3rd act, and this makes sense to actually put over here, and this shouldn't even be here, this should go in the 2nd book. Like, it's just so helpful to be able to kind of rearrange it that way for yourself. And the first time I did it, it was very, very helpful. I did it in 2019 before NaNoWriMo, and then I did it again when I was writing the 2nd half of this book in 2020 for NaNoWriMo. And I've got a full stack. This is book 1. This is my whole book 1 stack. I also have stacks somewhere up here for book 2 and book 3. I don't even know the plot overall of book 2 and 3, but I know a few things that I know I want to happen. So I went ahead and wrote those down when I was plotting out book 1, and I solidified what was happening in book 1, at least during the drafting process. It's changing now that we're editing, it's changing, it's fine. I went ahead and did my book 2 plot points, and it's just a very small stack, and I have a book 3 one over here too. I don't even know how long the series is going to be. Like, I want to aim for a trilogy, but it's probably more like 4 books. Maybe more than 4. Don't look at me. Those are my favorite like drafting methods, is like the whiteboard and the index cards, and obviously you just gotta have so many fucking composition notebooks so that you write all your shits in, because like this notebook just has like so many fucking notes just jumbled in it. And then this notebook, this is my pretty one, which is just literally like a direct copy of the whiteboard, where it's like bullet pointed points for what's happening, and it's nice and neat. I mean, I bought one just to make a neat version of my notes and stuff, but this is my messy one. Like, this is, let me find a messy page. Here's where I was plotting out some new characters who are showing up probably in like book 2 and 3, and just like scribbling down a bunch of stuff for them. You gotta have your messy notes. It's my favorite thing, and I still use my messy notes and make more messy notes while I'm doing the edits. It's a good time. And my favorite thing to use overall, more than the whiteboard and the note cards, is when I'm actually writing, I use Scrivener. Everybody has their preference. People prefer Word, some people just prefer to write in like Google Docs, people prefer other programs. Scrivener has saved my life though. It's the best thing ever. because of the way like you can format things. I mean, there's so many fucking cool tools in Scrivener, some of them that I don't even know what they are. There's so many that I don't know all of them. But my favorite thing about it is like how you can organize everything into that one file. Like you open your file and it's all there. You can put in like your character profiles, your notes, your deleted scenes, ideas that you might want to work in later but you don't really know what to do with them, so you're just throwing them in another page. And then obviously your breakdown, like chapter by chapter or scene by scene. You're supposed to do it, I think, scene by scene, but I do it chapter by chapter since my book is split into parts, because you have like a folder and then you can put all your scenes in it for that chapter and then so on. But it's so much messier to me when I do it that way. That's how I used to do it and I'd never liked it, so I've started doing it where each folder is the part and then each like new text, blank text is the chapter. And I will show you that right now. Rolled up so you can't actually see what I'm writing, but so here you've got like my folders are part 1, and then you've got my chapters labeled down here, and then I've got part 2 and part 3, which I'm not in yet. And then down here you've got like characters and places and deleted scenes and my notes and timeline that I need to work on some more because my timeline's a whole fucking mess. And then also like over here is where you keep track of your word count. This is lying, it says 0 words because I had to restart it, but I've written 1,009 words today, so hell yeah. Down here, like in the margins of the side, I'll put notes for things that I want to add in, whether it's stuff that like I'm gonna add in draft 3. I'll like leave myself notes for things that I know I want to work on more that I'm not doing right now in draft 2, or just things that, like since I'm rewriting chapter 9, those were notes for things to put in while I'm rewriting chapter 9. And some of it's already changed, but that's my Scrivener process. This is actually a very like light one because this is the new draft too. Like if I pulled up draft 1, you would see like a shit ton more stuff in the sidelines, but it's so organized and I love it. I love it. Now, I'm gonna tell you about the new character art I commissioned and show you about it. I don't have a lot of time because I'm supposed to be doing reading sprints with Casey in just a few minutes. So I need to wrap this up. Okay, so I've got another piece of art commissioned. I'm gonna link all of the information from the artist down below in the description. They are amazing. They just closed their commissions, but they're gonna open them up again in like a month. And so keep an eye on that. Go follow them on all their stuff and support them because they're amazing. They have been so much fun to work with. Like they're just so great. They're just so fucking great to work with, and I've just been so happy every time I get these arts done. So this time I'm gonna show it to you on the screen, but this time I got art done of my twins Jensen and Jillian Laloon. They are here. They are look at them. Look how fucking cute they are. I can't get over how cute they are. These are twins. They're 17 years old. They are Canadian, and Jensen is the one with the pink hair, and she has the power of invisibility. And then I know Jillian her hair looks pink in this picture, but her hair's red. And she has the power of telekinesis, and they are complete opposites in like every way, but they love each other so much, and they're such a great dynamic, and I love writing them. And look how cute, look how fucking cute it is. Ah! It's so fucking cute. So yes, there's my twins, Jillian, Jensen, Laloon. Actually, I have 2 sets of twins in the main cast. I have a problem. Don't come for me. Me and Ace are also fraternal twin siblings. It's fine. I just got that art done. Actually, I just got another one done. Like, I just got it, but I'm not going to show that to you. And this one, I'm going to make you wait for episode 4 of Deviant Drafts. And speaking of Deviant Drafts, I have started a Instagram account for my writing journey where I'm pretty much posting like every other day, just like snippets from what I'm currently working on in the draft, and like mood boards, and just like things about, you know, my process and my struggles and all of that stuff. I'm just trying to kind of connect with other writers and make more friends who are going through the same thing. I've already got like 88 followers, and I've only had the account for a little over a week, not quite 2 weeks, I think. So like not growing fast, but I'm still growing nicely, which I'm happy about. And so yeah, if you want to like follow me on my writing journey a little closer, go follow that account. I will leave it in the description down below, but it's just at Deviant Drafts. And yeah, I've been posting over there. I'm having fun with it. I hope I can keep up with it because I'm not really good at Instagram. I'm wildly inconsistent on my personal account, where I'll get in moods where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do like these book challenges and be all bookstagrammer, and then I'll do like writing things around NaNoWriMo and try to do like the monthly challenges, and but I never stick with it. So I'm trying to stick with it, just kind of going at my own pace, but just focusing on the writing stuff. So if you want to follow more of that, just go head on over there and follow that, and you'll see more stuff. I'm gonna start posting the commissioned art of my characters on there very soon, and I'm excited to share it with everybody. But yes, I have to go. I feel like there's more things I wanted to cover in this video, so you might see like a outfit change later or something when I come back in this video. Yeah, I'm not gonna end this now because I feel like there was more I was gonna talk about. Oh right, I was gonna read a scene to you. That's gonna be the end of this video. I'll be back. I'll do that later. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay guys, I return later in the same day, looking a little less put together. But one of the things that I didn't talk about before I wrap up this video was, I talked about like my drafting process and general writing stuff, but I didn't talk about my editing process, and since that's what I'm doing right now, I feel like I should talk about my editing process. So basically what I've been doing this whole time is just pulling up like the old drafts and how I started, because before I was just editing what I already written instead of just full on rewriting everything like I'm doing now, like a dumbass. It's not fun. But before I was just like going through and literally retyping out the entire, like what was already written there, and that way like even if I wasn't changing what was already written in the text, I could catch like typos and like structure for words and things. And then when I got to the point where I was doing more rewriting and not just like reframing for it, one of the things I was doing was reading it aloud to myself, which I'm not a fan of. But reading it aloud to yourself really does help you like catch when something doesn't sound right, because sometimes it might look fine, but then when you hear it out loud, you're like, oh, that doesn't, like, that sounds a little wonky. I need to like rephrase that, especially when it comes to dialogue, because sometimes when you hear dialogue out loud, you're like, oh, that's like not how a person would speak. When you like type it, you're just like, this is fine, and then you like say it out loud and you're like, no, that doesn't sound right. So that's one of the things that I've been doing a lot, is like, especially like once I've rewritten a chapter, I will go back and like read the whole thing aloud to myself and just kind of like try to like listen to myself reading it, and then try to make like even more changes to it and make sure it sounds better. But yeah, I've just been doing so many rewrites this whole time. Nobody told me that the editing process was going to basically be me rewriting the whole book, and I'm a little upset about it. Like I said, I made it 3 chapters in without having to do a full rewrite. Chapter 3 was where I made the first big changes, and because I made a big change in there, it had such a huge domino effect, which I talked about in the last episode, that was causing me to rewrite a lot of stuff. And then just going forward, it was like, even when things were the same, I could just see that it wasn't written very well, because it was written during NaNoWriMo, and I'm just like key smashing, you know, to get the words in, because it's like, obviously, like, you just want to get the words on the page. That's like step 1. Step 2 is just hit your fucking word count, like just get as many words out as you can. And so since this was not just like me having written a book and I'm now editing, this is like a NaNoWriMo book, so it's a hot mess. So the editing process has been fun and rough and hard. But I do think that like I can see the progress that I'm making with it, that I can see, like I can look at a single chapter from like draft 1 versus what I've just done in draft 2, and I can see the development, whether it's just like that I'm writing it slightly better and the plot is coming across better and the characters are coming across better. Like, it's not anywhere close to done. Like, I have a feeling this book is going to go through like 5 drafts before I'm even close to thinking that I'm okay with it. Mostly draft 2 is just taking the hot mess of what I did during NaNoWriMo and turning it into something a little more solid. And then I'm hoping that when I go through to do draft 3, that'll be when I'm actually trying to like really perfect it and shine it and polish it and use like beta feedback and stuff, because I am going to have beta readers for draft 2, which I'm terrified, because I know draft 2 is still not going to be that good. It's not going to be that good, but it's a step up. I can see that. Like, I can actively see that it's a step up from what I did before. So that's been nice to see. And speaking of being terrified of sharing my writing, why don't I read a scene to you guys? I haven't picked what scene yet. Well, I thought I did, and then I didn't like it. So I'm gonna go pick a scene and record myself reading that for you. I'm not good at reading things aloud, so don't pay too much attention to like the me reading it out loud part, and just like, I'm gonna put, the words will be on the screen. You can read along with me. it'll be a short scene. I'm gonna pick a nice, short, snappy scene to read to you guys to wrap up this video. Yeah. Okay. Let's do that now. She ran on pure instinct, going as fast as she could, which wasn't fast enough. The weight of her backpack was slowing her down. She darted down an alley, heart sinking as she realized it was a dead end. She spun around to see the opening she'd run through now crammed with 20-some officers, all with guns raised and protective helmets and face masks on. She swallowed the fear in her throat, taking a single step back. There was no exit. She had to face this, but terror filled her to the brim. Why did this feel like déjà vu, like she'd been here before? "We don't want to hurt you. Come with us. Don't put up a fight," one of the men called out, stepping forward. "If you don't want to hurt me, why do you have 20 guns pointed at my face?" she yelled defensively. Her chest rose and fell. Anger filled her, trying to override the panic. She'd done nothing wrong. "We're the good guys," the same man said, taking another step closer. None of them lowered their guns. Rainey's heart raced. She couldn't breathe. She was going to die. She was going to die. "That's a lie." Rainey jumped, turning to see a young man coming out of nowhere and walking toward her. He was tall, with messy dark hair and fair skin. She stumbled back as he got close, trying to keep an eye on both him and the guns. He stopped in front of her, placing himself between her and the officers. "Sky?" The man at the front lifted his face mask to narrow his eyes at the newcomer. He almost sounded afraid. "The one and only. Now tell me, why are you bothering this nice lady?" His voice was light, casual. "This has nothing to do with you and yours, Sky. She is ours." "No." The man, Sky, replied. He said the word quietly, but it carried weight. Rainey stared at his back, transfixed and terrified. "You're outnumbered 20-1, the officer said. "Oh, I like those odds." "Do you?" he replied. Why was he protecting her? Several of the officers started to lower their weapons, feet shifting uneasily. They seemed to genuinely be afraid of this lone boy standing before her. Why? What the hell was happening? Her hands were shaking and sweat trickled down her neck. "You can't take us all. We will get the girl. She belongs to our boss." "I don't think this girl belongs to anyone, asshole." "Lay a hand on her and see what I do to that hand," he answered coldly, stepping forward. Rainey held her breath, wishing she could see the guy's face. He was planted firmly in front of her, and tall as he was, she couldn't see past him. Her eyes focused on the back of his neck, where his black hair curled up a little at the end. He was dressed in all black, with wide shoulders. She could see he had weapons on him, but he hadn't drawn any. He stood just as helpless as her in front of 20 armed men, but carried so much confidence, like this was just a normal morning stroll for him. Why was he helping her? She heard movement from the officers, and suddenly the boy took a step back so that he was right in front of her, so close they were almost touching. She wanted to scream, to run, to hide. A loud crack tore through the air, then another. She ducked down, hands over her head, scream lodged in her throat. The sound of gunfire echoed around for a moment, then stopped abruptly. She cracked an eye open to see the area between them and the officers filled with a hazy smoke. The boy turned to her then, bending down and holding out a hand for her. "I need you to trust me," he said, urgency in his voice. And there you have it, folks. This is the end of the video. Let me know in the comments down below, especially if you are a writer, how you're feeling about your editing process. Do you like editing more than like actual drafting, or is the drafting process like more fun for you? Like where do you shine the most in the overall process? Is it like the drafting or the proper writing, or is it the like revisions? Because I struggle with it all, baby. I'm all over the board. And if you're enjoying my writing update series here on the channel, that's great. And I'm really glad that there's a select like portion of you guys who like my writing videos and not just the reading content that happens here on the BookTube channel. And I like that I can like have this little corner of our channel to like do this, since this is a huge part of like my life and stuff. I'm losing the words. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up. Thank you for watching, everybody. Remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and I will see you next time. Stay tuned for episode 4 of Deviant Drafts, coming to you sometime next month. I'm doing these about once a month, but like I said, if you want more writing content from me, go follow me on Instagram at Deviant Drafts, and you will get more content. Okay, life before death, Radiance. Bye!
Truth is, I was afraid.